What's up, my friends? It is Danny Gallows, of course, and welcome back to the next to last part of my Navy experience. Yeah, that's right, this is the next to last part. The next part that I'm going to be talking about after this is the process of me actually exiting the Navy and transferring back into civilian life and what that was like. But that will be coming in a future video. But for today, I'm going to be discussing with you guys my trip to South Korea, which was just absolutely another really fantastic location that has a lot of great memories for me. Still to this day, I think about it. When I think about, my Navy experience, you'd think that countries like Dubai and Hong Kong and places like that would come up, and they do from time to time. But really, a lot of my most vivid memories come from South Korea, because that was one of the last countries that I visited. So we had some great times there and great experiences, of course. Now, coming into South Korea for the first time was an experience on its own, because we were out there working on the flight deck, I remember, at some point, and then as we were pulling into port, we were all gathered around the flight deck and just kind of like looking over the port and the mountains and stuff like that. Again, the Asian mountains coming into play on the coast of South Korea. They have these amazing islands, these like mountain islands, like rising up out of the oceans, and then in the distance we could see these buildings being built, these like skyscrapers and condos and stuff like that being built on a ledge, like a mountain ledge in the background. And then on the port, on the actual port itself, the South Korean Army and I think it was the Navy as well, and the welcoming committee and everything, they were singing and dancing, and everybody was in their traditional dresses and outfits and everything, and they were dancing and singing and welcoming us. And that was the only occasion I can really remember was in South Korea, when we actually got welcomed by like this huge kind of like party that was welcoming the ship into port. So that was cool to be part of the welcomed coming into the country. Having people throw a little party for you there on the pier. That was amazing. And you guys will probably have to forgive me, because I'll be wiping sweat. I'll be editing here to wipe sweat from my forehead. As you guys can tell, it's a scorcher out today, and I have to keep all my windows shut to record, obviously, so just be aware of that. And then after that, I remember getting off the ship. I remember that we had, I think we had maybe like 2.5 days, or at least I did, with duty included and everything like that. I had about 2.5 days in port, and the first day, me and my buddy Matt Newman, we took a little tour bus out to this great, it was basically a hotel, but they had gambling inside the hotel. And Matt, he really wanted to go out, and Newman, he was just kind of like a cool, down-to-earth guy, but he really liked, like betting and stuff like that and gambling, and he wanted to check out, the casinos and stuff like that over there. So he ended up going to this hotel, and I remember that we went up on a really, really high floor. We were up maybe like, a good like 40 or 50 stories up in this hotel, and there was like betting tables and everything everywhere, and strange enough, there wasn't a lot of people there. It was kind of empty. There was like people here, there, and I wasn't a gambling person myself, so I just kind of hung around and watched and stuff like that, and just had a good time like soaking up the environment. And as we kind of, I guess we were the first ones there, because people started to filter in, piece by piece, and the tables started filling up with people that we knew, and we were all we were all ordering drinks and smoking cigarettes and, talking about betting and poker and blackjack and all the roulette tables and everything. And I remember we couldn't take pictures inside the hotel either. They would get kind of like agitated if you tried to take like a hotel picture or something like that inside, or of like even like the lobby or anything like that. They would get angry, and so we had to ask permission to take a picture of just out the hotel window so we could see, because out the hotel there was the ocean, and it was really cool. I find that in each location that I go to, the sky and the ocean and the coastlines and stuff like that look different. Everywhere you go, every coastline looks different, every sky looks different. And Korea was cool because it was like this steel blue ocean, and it was an overcast day, and just being overseas, it's kind of like a fantasy environment. I say this often, just being overseas is like this very magical, mystical environment, and it's like being a traveler for real. Like, you're literally a traveler going to all these different countries countries and experiencing all these different kind of like mystic countries and these these events that are going on. Even simple things like just like standing beside the ocean and looking at the skyline or a city skyline or something like that. It can be something straight out of a dream, and it's really something to take in and gain a lot of culture from. But the second day was by far the best day for us, because me and my buddy Newman and Chavez went out. Yeah, it was me and Chavez that day. We all went out the second day to really explore the city. That was really when we wanted to get into the city and just like explore the buildings and stuff like that. And we also went to go see 300. I'm sure all of you guys out there know the movie 300. I saw 300 for the very first time in South Korea in a movie theater. So that's another cool kind of like life experience to take away. Because, you know, it's interesting. On board the ship, we were getting a lot of pirated movies. I don't know where we were getting these from. Perhaps somebody was getting them in, you know, from somebody else in foreign countries or something. I don't know, but like we were getting a lot of movies like before they were released. They would be these like burned copies, you know, these like burned DVD-R, you know, DVD, whatever, you know, like copied DVDs, like pirated, you know, like copied CDs. And I have no idea, like even looking back on it now, I really don't have any idea where we were getting them from. But regardless, we were getting, you know, movies early, like 300, and we all thought to ourselves, well, you know, this is great, but, you know, half the screen is cut off, you know, at some times, and it's blurry and everything. You know, we want to see this on the big screen. So off we went to the cinema, right in the middle of the city, you know, of course, you know, all the neon signs and the fast food restaurants and everything. Very similar to this poster behind me here of Japan, you know, just like that. And we were just walking down the street, and bam, there it was, an amazing movie theater. And inside, I'll always remember the inside of this movie theater so vividly, you know, because we walked in and it was just neon everywhere. It was blues and purples and reds and orange, just neon lights everywhere. The entire lobby was lit up blue. Like literally blue, like blues and just all these vivid colors and everything around it to obviously, you know, to accompany the movie theater environment and just to catch your eye and perhaps even to appetize you or something like that, maybe to get your attention with color or something like that, but just so brightly colored inside this movie theater lobby. And of course we got our drinks and popcorn and everything, and then we went into the movie theater. And inside the movie theater, it's just the same. It was just a basic movie theater, you know, no different from American movie theaters at all. It's just a stadium seating all the way up to the back and then a row, except that, you know, the movie is in English, so but they had, you know, the Korean subtitles underneath, which is really cool to just to see. Like I said, you know, it was another really cool just life experience, just to be there in a movie theater in South Korea watching 300 for the first time. I'll always get to say that that's how I watched 300 for the first time, was overseas in South Korea. And then after that, we continued down the strip and we went to a McDonald's over there. Again, we wanted to experience what it was like to be in a South Korean McDonald's and experiencing all these food. Like I said, the buns are different. Sometimes the ingredients are different. Everything is different. The sauces and stuff like that are different. The numbers on the menus are different. And you really have to tell people specifically what you want. But it was pretty easy, you know, like ordering and all that stuff. And again, getting to eat at a fast food restaurant that's a normal chain here in the United States, but overseas, and getting to experience that with all my friends. And then just doing crazy stuff, you know, like, you know, getting into the back of a cab and taking pictures and just, you know, goofing around and having a good time, and just experiencing the environment. And then at nighttime, again, another a very prevalent memory in my mind, walking through South Korea at night, and just all the shops. There's shop vendors everywhere. I remember I bought a Boston Red Sox cap there from a street vendor, and just being on the street at night, it's all lit in this dim kind of very soft yellow light, and you can see office buildings and skyscrapers in the background as you walk down these streets, and they're these kind of office looking buildings. They almost look like office buildings, but they're small, very small, and there's kind of dim yellow and orange light, and you could get things done on the street. I remember my buddy Chavez, he wanted to get the area code of where he lived in California, 619, displayed on the side of his hoodie, and he took his hoodie right up to this guy who was, actually I think it was a woman who was doing this embroidery on the street, and she's like, oh yeah, like what color you want? And he's like, red. Okay, and she did it for him right there, like speed embroidery. You know, she had one of those electric sewing machines, obviously, and she just went, you know, bzz, 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 right through, and just did the design for him there in like 5 minutes, and then he took it, you know, custom made stuff. And like I said, you know, you can find like baseball caps and t-shirts and stuff like that at discounted prices, and there's bars to go to, and there's people selling like scorpions on the street. There are people like literally selling like scorpions, like black scorpions on the street, like, you know, are made with like spices, and they're tossed in like oils and stuff like that. Apparently they're pretty good, but I didn't get a chance to try one. I don't think I was daring enough at that stage of my life to really, like, you know, try one. And yeah, so, and just, you know, experiencing the drunk kind of like Asian community out there in South Korea, hanging out with all the drunk peoples, you know, stumbling out of the bar and falling into things, and just having a blast, just taking pictures and having you know, just having fun. You know, like that's what we always did. We just went from place to place to experience things. Even the bus ride back wasn't an experience. You know, we were on these very oddly lit buses. I mean, remember these buses had like fluorescent lights, uncovered fluorescent lights, and we were all sitting there driving back through the city at like midnight, you know, going back to the ship, and all the buildings were lit up at night, you know, with their neon lights and, you know, the sparse lights in the office buildings, and people asking you, you know, oh, so what'd you get out there? You know, what'd you get out there? What's in your bag? Oh, you got that hat out there? Oh, that's cool. This is what I got. This is what I picked up here. This is what and we're all discussing. It was almost like being back in school again, being back in high school, you know, like going home on the bus, and you're all sitting there in the back of the bus, and you're all discussing like what you did for the day. That's what it was like, except it was nighttime, South Korea, cityscape, you know, driving back in this very oddly lit, you know, fluorescent bus, and going back to the base and discussing what we got. And yeah, and that was basically my experience in South Korea. The next day, I actually remember sleeping in. I actually remember one day, because there was a time I got pneumonia. You know, I got my lungs were all messed up from inhaling jet fuel and jet exhaust all day long, and I would develop pneumonia from time to time. And I think that South Korea might have been one of those times. When I was just, you know, relaxing in bed, because I remember spending one whole day in bed in South Korea just watching Tokyo Drift. I don't know if you guys know that movie at all. It's a notoriously bad movie. It's not a good movie at all, but it's actually a guilty pleasure for me. And one of the reasons is because I was in my rack. I was in my bed. You know, sometimes when I was sick, when I had pneumonia, and I would watch movies, and Tokyo Drift was one of the movies that I watched, so it's like this guilty pleasure for me now. But yeah, I remember spending one whole day in South Korea just in my bed, just watching movies, so I must have been sick. I must have been sick or something. Because the other time I had pneumonia, I remember specifically I was in Dubai, and it was like the second or third time I was in Dubai. And like I said, you know, I do have more Navy experiences to discuss, but that will be coming up in later videos, because that's like the second time I went to Hong Kong, and the second time and the third time that I went to Dubai, the second time that I went to Hawaii. So there's more Navy experiences to discuss, but those will be more like vlog videos. Those will be more me like reminiscing about times that I went, times that I had, and other experiences in the Navy that I don't discuss with you on these videos here. So that's going to wrap up my experience in South Korea. The very next Navy video that I'm going to make is my last video. That's going to be my experience kind of my experience exiting the Navy, how I exited the Navy, what that process was like, and then transferring back into civilian life again, which is a very, very interesting and sometimes very, very hard experience that I want to share with all of you. So thanks for sticking with me today, guys. It's a hot day today, you know, wiping sweat and just being hot and exhausted. My voice is terrible and everything, so thanks for sticking with me for this part of my Navy experience, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the very last part. So until I see you guys the next time, take care everyone. Later.